understand as a fundamental principle that there are two of everything. There are two beginnings, Bereshis. If you understand the first word or analyze the first word of the Torah, only the first word, you'll know everything. That the Torah starts with the letter Bet. Bet is the number 2. And then the word Reshis, beginnings. There are two beginnings, but one of those beginnings is the origin, you see. You have to think of a origin which is before the beginning. So in the two beginnings, one is an origin. It's like a unconscious beginning, a beginning before the beginning. You know? You know that song, When They Begin, the Begin? Something like that. And what you should do to get a very deep understanding of everything and about yourself and psychology is to analyze everything in this method, with this method of origin and beginning, two beginnings, but one origin. Now let's just take a few examples, a very highly sophisticated thought here. What came to mind this morning was that Purim, the holiday of Purim is celebrated, the first Purim was celebrated on Pesach, on Passover. So the actual holiday of Purim has its origin in Passover. You see? So we celebrate Purim now, but its origin was in Passover. There's a direct relationship between Purim and Passover. And that is passed over in the whole Megillah. Or should I say in the big Megillah. That the first Purim was on Pesach. And then strangely enough, in the Jewish year now, Purim precedes Pesach. When you look at it from one yearly point of view, from the point of view of Tishri, but it's the end of the year that starts in Nisan. So you have, again, a origin and a beginning depending on when you choose the year. There's also a Purim and a Purim Katan. There could be two Purims in a 13-month year. And there are always two Pesachs. So as we're coming right now to Pesach, we have a Pesach and Pesach Sheni. And it's always brought down that you have a second chance. I don't really believe that is the thing, but they call it that in normative Judaism. Oh, you always have a second chance. Sure, because that second chance is like the beginning, because the first was the origin. But the real origin is what we call the beginning. I call second Passover the origin of Passover. Pesach Sheni is really the origin of the Passover, which comes afterwards in time, but before in thought. The whole deal of Pesach is Pesach Sheni, because we're all on a far journey. So we're actually pretending this hominess, this searching of the of the house. What we are is in a far journey because we're all prophets. We're not householders. Another strange thing about origin and beginning is the word Yom HaKippurim. The highest day of our year is Yom HaKippurim. And even in the wording, they say it's Yom HaKippurim, day like Purim. So that the origin of Yom HaKippurim is found in Purim. And the origin of Purim is found in Pesach. Also, everything has two names. You see, Avraham was first Avram. Then he became Avraham. Yitzhak never had two names because he never left Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is a very big deal because it has the name Yisrael in it. And Yaakov had two names because it was Yaakov and then Yisrael. Yosef also had two names because one was a Egyptian name. So we all have two names, and that's the source of the Mishabera. When we change our name, because one's name, the lifespan, so to speak, of one's name is over, so we go to a different name. So the idea of two names, your origin, even a woman changes her name to a husband's name at marriage. What is the source and what is the origin? What is the origin and what is the beginning? That woman was really part of the man all this time before, when she was outside on her own, so to speak, and changes her name to a real name because the man has found his mate, his other half. This Adam and Eve, And then the whole idea of Cain and Abel, and there's always two-ness that comes around. And even Adam having two wives, or wives in general. Sometimes they even say that the second wife was really should have been the first wife in marriages. And in an intercourse, when you have an intercourse with a virgin, the first intercourse doesn't create the child, it creates the vessel for the second bia, the second intercourse, to create the child. And even in tennis, you serve with two balls. You have two balls to serve. If the first one's a fault, you have a second ball. The beginning and the origin. And so this whole idea of two-ness and beginning, and instead of two beginnings, so to speak, one is an origin. You see? And even in the creation of the worlds, God created the worlds with the world of circles, and that was too high because that was the origin. And then came the world of lines, of the three lines of man. So the circles were the feminine point of view of a womb, a vagina. And then what I'm going to be talking about is the idea of the two names. Well, let me just end this. The circles, there's a world of circles and a world of lines. And you're a line within this circle. And what's higher is the world of circles, which were too high before. And this reminds me of 35 years ago, I was in a library and some guy said he was a Kabbalist. Of course, he came from the Kabbalah Center. I didn't know that at the time. They thought they were. So he asked me, oh, what's higher, the world of circles or the world of lines? He thought he was going to... And I said, well, it's the first, the world of circles. Oh, no, he said. And he ran away from me, wouldn't talk to me. Because he said, oh, you know nothing. The world of rectification is higher. No, there's no rectification. The origin is higher. Get to the origin. And this is the same thing in what I'm going to be talking about in my next video, which came before this, but I didn't do it. So I'm beginning with this, but the origin is what I'm telling you right now. Is that the world that Tiferet is known by another name. Rachamim. The Sephirot of Tiferet is known by another name by some Kabbalists. Rachamim. Mercy from the word rachem, meaning womb. It's a feminine. Anything with a womb is feminine. Rachem. 248, which is also the gematria of Avraham. And as I've said in the previous video, if you change the het, you get from the hey to the het to a het, you get rachem. Anyway, but the point is, 248 for Avraham comes from the word rachem, womb. And Tiferet for me opened up when I realized it was Rachem, the heart of Tiferet, where the tefillin of the yad goes. See? What is really higher? The Bria world of the heart and the Shema, or when you stand up to the Atziliyut world? And you add the 50th gate of Bina, which is the Yad. When you wrap the Yad, that's the 50th gate of Bina, of the Berea world, to link it to Tziliyot world, the source of Chokhmah. And above it, Keter. The 50th gate of Bina avoids Chokhmah and goes straight to Keter. So when I'm doing my tefillin, I sit down, I do my arm, that's Bria world. I stand up, I put my head on, and then I wrap my finger, and that's the 50th gate into Bria. Into Keter. And then what do? I say the Shema. And if I say the Shema twice a day, I have 50 letters. But if I say the Shema only once with the second line, I have 49 letters. Plus the Aleph that I hold in front of my hand. My eyes. My closed eyes, which opens up the ears. So what's the origin and what's the beginning? So just examine Bereshis. Of course, in the Tikkuni Zohar, they have 70 analyses of the word Bereshis. Another great one is Bereshis, created 6. Because there are 6 creations, and then previous to that is a 7th, and that's Shabbat. which isn't created. Not created. So these are what we're seeing here. Okay? Of origin and beginning, two-ness of everything, and how it examines in the year, how it examines in your day, how it examines in your body, how it examines in your meals and your eating. You know, food and drink. You know? And in the concept of food and drink, what's the origin? This all comes from the letter Mem. When they have those 5 fasts on Yom HaKippurim, the Mem symbolizes food and drink. And food comes from the word man, Mem Nun. And drink comes from the word mayam, all with mems. And so this unfolds. And always remember, each Sephirot is an origin for itself, is an origin for the next. So Keta is the origin of the beginning in Chokhmah. And then when you go to Chokhmah, it's the origin for the beginning in Bia, in Bria. And so, it's Bia also. But the point is, each Sephirot has a dual function, as expressed in the tarot. That each card has an origin, and then for the next, it's the origin for the next, but the beginning for itself. And so as you expand on this, as you grow on this, as you analyze this in the year, as I've done in the Jewish holidays, because even Pesach has 2 names. It's known as Hag HaPesach. Hag HaMatzah. And it's known as Pesach. And the 2 days that start Pesach, the Bedika of Hametz on the 14th, and then the Passover on the 15th. The origin in the beginning. And if you examine this, you'll see what happens. That's all I can say.